I think the worst scenario has gone away now, which would be a breakup of the coalition. That would have scared markets because it would have created a lot of uncertainty, obviously. But still, this conflict is not over. It will be very difficult for the Social Democrats to accept this compromise because they were against this type of solution explicitly just 2 years ago. So they will have a hard time agreeing to it. The pressure is high because they wouldn't like new elections. But still, it's not clear they will agree. And the other issue is that it's not quite clear what the other countries are going to do. The Austrian Chancellor Kurz has expressed that he will defend Austrian interests, so he doesn't really want asylum seekers to be sent back into Austria. So the situation is unstable, and there are scars also for Angela Merkel's authority, no doubt about that.
Clemens, you've spoken previously about the predictability that these coalition partners delivered, which has been great news for many of the German corporates. It doesn't feel as though this crisis around migration has been fully solved, that there might still be points of conflict. And if you've got a leader of a party that has threatened to resign over an issue that really impacts his region, surely it's a possibility again. So have we seen a fracturing of that confidence that has existed where many German corporates could count on the CSU and the CDU?
We shouldn't overstate this, but still, there is certainly is a loss of confidence. The German conservatives have been a factor of stability and reliability for a long time in the political scene. If we imagine these two parties would break up, we would have a situation with more fractured parties, perhaps like in the Netherlands. And for German companies, this is an issue because stability has always been a factor here in Germany that made investing here attractive, made business easier. So I think there is an issue here. We'll have to see how this plays out. But it certainly doesn't improve confidence in Germany and German politics.
Clemens, I'd be very curious, do you worry now that migration is being exploited for political reasons or by those with political ambitions, and this kind of brings in a more difficult and uncontrollable element to what is already a very difficult policy question?
That is clearly the case. So migration is a very sensitive issue. It's a very politically charged issue. At least in the short term, it's not so much of a real or economic issue. If you look at the numbers of asylum seekers at the moment, they are clearly very low, those arriving in Germany and even for the rest of Europe. There are not masses of people arriving, but those who arrive are very salient. They attract a lot of attention. And in some ways, the migration question is a test for the EU, not just for the German government. Is the EU able to act jointly? If it isn't, the question is how can they be confident they can act jointly in other areas where it's very important, like the trade war, for instance. So in that regard, migration is highly symbolic. And of course, populist parties, as we see, are using this issue to attack the established parties, not just in Germany. We see, in the Italian government focusing very much on this question. So I think there is a high risk for the EU as a whole to get into difficulties because of this question.
And this comes right to the basis of many of these issues, whether we're talking about trade and immigration. Let's try and tie those two together. Herr Fuest, if we cannot secure our European borders, and I say we because Great Britain's just about still in as well, but if we as a continent can't secure our external borders, then I fear that individual actions from individual countries such as Hungary, such as Austria, will be on the rise as well. And this raises the broader issue which comes on to trade as well, which could very much affect the ability of countries to have seamless border-free trade transactions, i.e., is this the death of Schengen potentially if Europe cannot secure its borders?
If Europe in the end cannot secure its borders, this will be the death of Schengen, certainly. So countries will set up their own frontiers, their own controls at the borders. They will send back refugees, of course. Whether we succeed in securing the external borders may depend on how countries behave internally. So if Germany closed its borders like Denmark did, probably Austria would follow, and Italy might try to more energetically chase back refugees and secure its borders. In the end, of course, we need a European agreement here. I think this is not just about Schengen and the implications for trade. It's, this is a highly symbolic issue for the EU. It's a test for the EU. Are we able to act together? Because fundamentally, I think there is agreement in the EU. We need arrangements with the Northern African countries to make sure that immigration into the EU follows the legal paths, and it shouldn't follow trafficking. It shouldn't be illegal. So it is, for this reason, I think it is very important that the EU achieves in getting to some agreement. If we can't do it here, we won't be able to do it in other areas either.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.